could be considered luck of the draw to be born in the United States. No country is perfect, but this country has managed not to kill me in the past 20 years that I've been alive, which is more than some can say. I'm lucky that my parents were well off enough that I could do different activities at a young age, including but not limited to piano class starting at age 6. I'm lucky that my father was well off enough to be involved in acting and asked for my assistance, sparking the fire of the arts within me. I'm lucky that when I attended 6th grade, the school offered options on what I was interested in, through which I was able to take part in theater, not only in junior high, but high school as well. I'm lucky that my high school offered a piano class, which secondarily acted as a mental safe haven for me, and allowed me to further hone my piano skills. I'm lucky that when I graduated and told my mother that I was not going to college because I felt that I did not need college to become an actor, comedian, or musician, that she did not choke me immediately. It could be argued that I drew a good hand. I'm going to tell you a story about my father. He ran away from home age 16, from a home containing no compassion. Moved to Austin unsure of his future, started a business in finance, watched it crumble, secured a job, started a family, supported that family and the dreams of everyone inside of it, maintained his ground after seemingly losing his family, retired, started another company, and became a multimillionaire. What is the difference between me and my father? I'm going to tell you a story about my mother. From a family riddled with a past of frequent domestic abuse imposed on her mother, she graduated high school, decided to pursue counseling, relentlessly pursued her education for years, worked through internships, courses, debt, birthed 2 children, kept herself afloat with some support after a divorce, and became arguably one of the best marriage counselors in the state of Texas. What is the difference between me and my mother? I'm going to tell you a story about my grandfather. In his adolescent years, he was forced to defend himself on a daily basis from attackers to and from grade school. Upon graduating, he attended junior college for computer science, working a full-time occupation in the process. He then returned to that same college as a teacher shortly after graduating, while simultaneously furthering his career at IBM as a senior associate engineer and being a father. On his next career path, starting at Image Sciences Incorporated, he became the first black manager for interstate projects. Similar to his time in grade school, his might was tested weekly, just on a work playing field rather than a physical one. What's the difference between me and my grandfather? I'm going to tell you a story about Lark. Lark is a woman who dominated wherever she went for over 50 years with more achievements than I have fingers and toes. Though Lark lost her husband in 2014, she does not allow herself to be swallowed by darkness. She shines even brighter than her damage, leads with more love than her pain, and encapsulates more determination and work ethic than anyone I've ever seen. Unfortunately, I cannot tell this long story about her late husband, Roger. I was never granted the privilege to meet Roger, but to my understanding, he was a general contractor. Between assisting his peers with remedial tasks and working long volunteer hours in the infant ward at his church, he went on to speak at a regional level with such power and such drive that even if you couldn't hear him, you still received his intended message. Even so, I can still ask, what is the difference between me and Lark and Roger? I'm going to tell you a story about Patrick. Patrick contained a heart of servitude and kindness for all those around him. He contained an anxiety that also rumbled his skeleton. Pat did not have an official speech for the first 7 months of him joining the club for public speaking, and proceeded over the next 30 years plus to become one of the most prolific and entertaining speakers to date. What is the difference between me and Patrick? I'm going to tell you a story about John and Lorraine. John and Lorraine carry life with an sense of undying wonder and unpredictableness. Deep within them both is mettle and unmatched resilience. Between separate decades are separate lives entirely, containing different careers, structures, with both parties excelling at each and every one of their endeavors separately and exponentially increasing their acceleration together. Both show teachability and passion in every engagement. They both contracted cancer. Sequentially, John reached a point where he required surgery. Lorraine stood strong and directly beside him the entire time. He could have undergone that surgery and easily, as well as justifiably, used the experience as grounds to discontinue public speaking. Not even a week after the surgery, John was back delivering the same powerful words without breaking so much as a stride. What is the difference between me and John and Lorraine? I'm going to tell you a story about Cheryl. Cheryl grew up in a group home with chaos constantly surrounding her at every angle. She was raised under circumstances that would, in some respects, lack in certain areas, such as affection, such as nurturing, and such as love. From a young age, she has in some regard had to mentally and emotionally fend for herself. She did not retreat, make excuses, or fail when all the cards were stacked up against her. She is a published author who has been nationally recognized, mothered children, mentored young minds, and has been a bastion of light and hope for those who drew a bad hand as she did. So what is the difference between me and Cheryl? I'm going to tell you a story about Compoy. This woman came from nothing. Without the plays that she made to move her own life forward, she may not be here today. Where many had assistance, she was alone. Where many were helped, she was hurt. Yet none of it was enough to defeat her. She created her own empire from dirt to done. So what is the difference between me and Compoy? I'm going to tell you a story, one that you may know, about Michael Jordan. Having not fleshed out his skill, he did not make the cut for his high school basketball team. Through only hours of dedication, practice, and tenacity, and regimen, did he cross the threshold into the NBA. Over his career, which is argued to be one of, if not the greatest professional basketball career of all time, Michael has missed over 9,000 shots, lost over 300 games, and has been trusted at least 26 times to take the game-winning shot and missed. He went on throughout his iconic career to win more than 5 championships and start a brand under one of the most recognizable names in athletic wear, Nike. What is the difference between me and Michael Jordan? I'm going to tell you a story about Barbara Jordan. She shares the name, but in no way does she share the life of my previously mentioned Michael. She graduated high school at 16, graduated college at 20, graduated law school at 23, taught for a year in Alabama, and had her own private law practice begun by the age 24. At age 31, she was the first black woman in Texas Senate and the first black person in the Texas Senate since 1883. Again, I ask, what is the difference between me and Barbara Jordan? The story, one I know you definitely know, is the one of Martin Luther King Jr. He was ordained into the church by the time he was 18 and began assisting his father preach to his congregation. Martin contained a passion and a compassion for human beings that was unmatched in his time. During his studies, he discovered Gandhi's method of peaceful demonstration to enact social change on a large scale. In 1955, his story combined with the story of Rosa Parks, a hard-working seamstress that reached the relatable point that I'm sure you all have reached of being tired. Tired from work, tired of the circumstances, and just tired of everything. Her exhaustion led her to execute a move that would initiate the most influential American social movement ever. Taking a seat. Sent to jail, released from jail by E.D. Nixon, who reported the incident to the ears of leaders such as Martin, who commenced a bus boycott that was launched December 5th. Over a year, black transportees carpooled and walked from point A to point B. This led to events such as the Freedom Rides in the years following. There will be thousands of civil rights demonstrations across America, including the 250,000 patrons that gathered at Lincoln Memorial, where Martin delivered what is now one of the most recognizable captured spoken pieces in American history, the I Have a Dream speech. April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. April 5th, 1968, my father was born. What is the difference between me and the leaders of the civil rights movement? The difference between myself and the people I gave stories about is that they were not dependent on getting a good hand dealt in life. They were not dependent on the luck of the draw. They all continued to teach me by word and by example that greatness is not inherited, granted, or bestowed. Greatness is manufactured through confidence, focus, and willpower. And this must be applied on a daily basis towards a goal. There is no shortcut or elevator. Greatness is a staircase and a pathway that the choice must be made daily to walk on it. No matter that life throws its most fatal blows at you, when the sun rises for the next day, the only person that can choose to take a step forward and another step forward is you. The decision is meaningless without the action. With that being said, expressing morality, goodwill, and mental willpower is a much simpler journey when taught. My father called me yesterday to inform me that my cousin died of drug-related causes. I'm 20. He was 21 years old. The death of anyone is difficult to grasp, let alone a family member. But it was not so much my bloodline being shortened that caused me so much pain. What hurt was accepting the idea that he was not given the opportunity to be taught how to be successful. His experience mimics the example I see too many times. A black father trapped in a penitentiary system designed for him to fail. He grows up with a fragmented image of what it means to be responsible, what it means to truly triumph. Not only as a man, but as a black man coexisting in a semi-hostile environment. His mind does what almost all brains are programmed to do. The human mind, when there are fragments of the unknown within the known, the mind will create a bridge to make it make sense. You see examples like this, especially in reading. That's why if you read a passage, you may not notice a misspelled word because your brain has created a bridge with what you do know so that it makes sense. In developmental years, the child brain is no different. If you've only been shown drugs, jail, guns, and dirty money through crime, you are much more likely to impersonate that behavior. I only wish he was given the opportunity to learn a different path. That way he may have taken it. He might have been granted the opportunity to see his full potential. There may have been ways that I needed my cousin that I may never truly understand. I can support the statement that whether we like it or not, we all have a synergy with each other in the world that we call home that keeps us moving as a cohesive unit. Doctors need patients the same way patients need doctors. Musicians need an audience the same way an audience wants to be serenaded. Teachers need students the same way students need teachers to teach them. Each day we are utilizing goods and services of hundreds of thousands of people that we are not mindful of. We are in debt to each other's synergy. We are interdependent. And I'll leave you with this. A good hand with a bad player at the end of the game is still a loser. And I'm lucky to have survived long enough to learn that. Thank you.
You want to stay up here?
Yes, I'm just going to stop the video.
Okay.